TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Diamond, your State Farm Insurance agent in DeKalb. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Diamond and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. Don't forget Kids Eat for Free on Thursday. For delivery or pickup, go to pizzavilla.com or call 815-758-8116. Elder Care Services of DeKalb. Safe, secure, and supported, helping you stay in home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdekalb.org. My Insurance Guy in Sycamore covers Medicare to auto care and everything in between. Stop by at 204 South Main Street in Sycamore. Call 815-899-0950 or online at myinsuranceguy.com. Welcome into TD Ryan Unleashed, podcast number 61. Honored to have privilege with us. A gentleman who's been teaching karate while we've been trying to figure it out, at least 34 years. Let's figure it out. As we're talking to Sensei Shannon Marbutt. Shannon, how you doing, my friend?
Fine, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me out.
You know, you talked to me, sent me an email about you teaching karate since 1992 here. We're talking about how long back that goes. And I was going to tell you, I was going to confess that most of my knowledge, almost all of it, comes from the Karate Kid movies. And I looked up the history of karate, and I guess Karate Kid movie came out in 84, Karate Kid Part 2, 86, Karate Kid Part 3, 89. Then you had the next Karate Kid, 94. Cobra Kai, a TV show in 2018. But that's when you said you like to watch Saturday at noon. You'd be home watching.
Yeah. I remember I was in grade school when the hard copy of the Karate Kid book came out through Scholastic. I remember buying that. But yeah, my actual training began in 1984, but I fell in love with it well before that. Maybe I was in second or third grade. And I used to watch the movies, as you mentioned, every Saturday afternoon.
Now, what were the movies? Were they Bruce Lee movies or what were the movies?
Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris, all these other actors. And just like how people might go to church every Sunday at 9 or 10 in the morning, I was always at home by noon so I could watch Black Belt Theater on Channel 23. And then WFLD 32 Chicago used to have those movies on as well. And I used to save up my nickels, dimes, and pennies, and there used to be Ralph's Newsstand around when I was a kid, and I used to save up my money. I think back then maybe the magazines were like $1.25, $1.50, and I'd buy the karate magazines. I couldn't get enough. I'd read up on anything and everything that I could, and then I'd make my own weapons and all. And back in that time in the 80s and that, was that big ninja craze,
right?
From all the movies, and there's some TV shows too, like The Master that was on there.
I was thinking about Kung Fu. We all watch Kung Fu.
Yeah, you have David Carradine.
Yeah,
and so I'd make my own stuff, and I'd be out there in my yard.
Like what'd you make? What
like my own swords and throwing stars and nunchucks and all that stuff. And I'd be outside. Being a kid, you emulate, what you see, right? And
right.
I'd be out in the yard pretending I was fighting guys like they would in the movies. And I remember one time someone asked my mom, like, "What's your kid doing out there?" And then, like I said, I'd read up on as much of it as I could. I'd also would watch movies and then go watch local park district classes. And I really wanted to get involved in this sort of thing. And
so it didn't waver for you. It wasn't like a fad for you.
No, not at all. And my mom asked me one evening if I wanted to learn karate, and I said, yeah, I would love to. And I remember my twin brother and I, we'd walk from 8th Street to Clinton Rosette to and from school every day. And we'd always walk by the Karate Institute, which was located at that time on First and Locust there. Now it's a parking lot. And walking back and to and from. And I remember, I think it was the night that we were going to start our classes, as we were walking home past the school, there's some guy walking. I didn't know who he was because I wasn't a student at the time.
Right.
He had his arm like in a sling and he had a cast, and I was thinking, oh man, what am I getting myself into? but I mean, it's a love and a passion, and been involved in it for a long time. And like I said, back in 1984 is when I started my official training. But again, probably second or third grade is when I really started getting hooked on it. So.
Have you ever had to use your skill on the street, Shannon? I know you preach not to use it, right?
Yeah. We preach not to use, but not to stand around like a punching bag either. You can block and move around and so forth. But yeah, we don't start violence or anything. But I've had to use it a few times, but you just use the mental part of it, try to stay even keel, I would say, so the situation doesn't escalate, and try to find a way to get yourself out of it before it gets pretty heated. Yeah, but I never had to use it physically at all, mostly mentally to get out of certain heated arguments and that.
Now, could I ask you, did your twin brother follow the same path as you?
Yeah, it's interesting that in middle school we did, I think what are called units or something like that for gym. So there'd be a basketball unit, volleyball unit. Then we all had to do like the line dancing and all that sort of thing. And one of them was wrestling. And I never really appreciated wrestling at that time. I was very naive about it. But my brother Shan was really good at wrestling, and he had no prior wrestling experience at all other than what was being taught in gym. And but he beat everybody in his gym class, all the boys, except for one kid that was actually on the wrestling team. And they mentioned to him that, hey, Shan, you should think about joining wrestling. So I thought he was going to do wrestling. Karate was going to be my thing. But then lo and behold, we started karate at the same time. So in a way, it's good because you have that person that can like push and motivate you and so forth. But as I got into high school and that, I started appreciating wrestling because it's grappling. And so you got the judo and jiu-jitsu, which is somewhat similar to wrestling, even though there's some distinct differences. But if a situation goes to the ground, you have some basic knowledge of what to do to get out of that.
Yeah.
So as I got older, I did appreciate that sort of thing.
You mentioned WFLD. My brothers and I used to watch All-Star Wrestling.
Yeah.
And roller derby. They had roller derby.
Yeah, roller derby. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
But now you teach. First, I want to ask you what SAMA stands for. SAMA, Karate for Teens. I have an ad from January 6th through the 29th, but teaching over there at the Park District. What does that mean, SAMA?
SAMA, you're not the first person to ask that. What does that mean? And it actually stands for Shannon's Academy of Martial Arts. So
okay.
If you want to have all that written out or typed out on something, that takes a lot of space and time, yeah.
Yeah, and you were named the best martial arts program in 2022 by the DeKalb County's finest there in the Daily Chronicle.
Yeah, for a while it was like one of the best, and then I think the best maybe once or twice, I think. But but it is a nice award, and it's nice to be for people to
recognize you.
Yeah, to recognize me and so forth. And I greatly appreciate that too.
And the ad says here, learn discipline, focus, self-confidence, coordination, fitness, self-defense, and more through the study of karate. Now, I also learned doing an interview with you, karate means a hand, right? Or empty hand,
right? Yeah.
And there was a Chinese origin in that? And then,
originally it came from India and then came over to China. And then, China and Okinawa, they're in close proximity of each other. Then from there and then over to Japan. But also, too, now with new research and all that, with the time and era that we're living now, so there's going to be some, different takes on how things evolved and changed. Because sometimes things get lost in translation, so you kind of piecemeal it together.
Yeah. Just
like finding dinosaur bones, I guess, right? You just kind of piecemeal what you find.
Well, that's great. That's what I wanted to ask you about that. Because, I found an article from back in 2011. They interviewed at the Chronicle on the record with Shannon Marbutt. And I thought we'd tend to go through this because I'm sure things haven't changed a lot. Because at the time they were talking to you, you were putting on an anti-bullying class.
Yeah,
for kids, elementary kids. Tell us about that, because I understand you were bullied when you were younger. Is that right?
Yeah. We used to go into the various schools and do like anti-bullying seminars, but then I guess we weren't able to get in there anymore because the district had like a different philosophy on what we're teaching, what they're teaching, and we're not trying to promote violence, but I guess to the untrained eye, and if someone's not really understanding about what the martial arts is about, then I could see them thinking that we're preaching violence, but we're not. So, bullying is still going on, but at the time it was really on the rise. Kids getting picked on in school. So we try to show ways that they can de-escalate the situation mentally before it actually goes to physical. And if it were go to physical, then some simple techniques that don't require you to actually hurt the person that's bullying you.
Yeah, you don't teach any aggressiveness, right? These are all counter moves, right?
Yeah, it's counter moves, exactly. Okay. I was bullied when I was a kid, but by the contrary, that's not why I took up the study of karate. I just fell in love with it because reading the books and the movies and on the martial arts and all that. So that's why I took this. And some people find that kind of odd, like you said you were picked on in school, but this is not the reason why you took it. And I said, no, it's by the contrary, yeah.
Well, I had 4 older brothers, but I had a buddy who was picked on, and I didn't step up for him as much as I should have. And I know that something like this would have helped him immensely, not only with the physical, just having the knowledge that I can take care of myself, but There's more to it than that, isn't there, Shannon?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You got the mental part of it, the concentration, the focus, the discipline, keeping your mind on what you're doing and try to follow that path. The physical fitness, it's rigorous training. You have your exercises, but then you get through that, then you got all the other physical attributes that go with it too, the blocks, punches and kicks, the sparring, the self-defense, weaponry, and so forth. And it's a total body workout, mind and body and spirit.
Yeah.
It's
now,
really
you
good.
talked about the kids being bullied. We do a suicide prevention show. We did it on the radio. We do it here now, too. And what started with the young people, and I was amazed at the young ages of the kids were being bullied to the point where some of them actually took their own lives in middle school and even younger than that. So for you to do a program like this, I mean, that would be life-changing.
Oh, yeah. Through the years, I mean, I've got compliments from kids as well as parents about how it's helped their child. You know, they have more self-esteem. They're more focused. They're able to concentrate more. Their confidence is built up. And that's what we want. We want to be able to, walk down to that neighborhood park or to your classroom down the hallway. If you're walking home from school, you know straight ahead, not looking down at the ground. So hopefully through the training, we can accomplish that, where you can be able to feel good about yourself.
That's a great point. Yeah, instead of having your head down, right, you walk with a little pride there.
Right.
Because, Dan Lynch, our news director, he, of course, his kids take classes with you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And he's talked about how that's changed their lives.
Yeah, they're good kids. They're good kids.
That's great to hear. We're talking to Shannon Marbutt again, the 30-something years teaching karate here in the area. And now you talked about the different strategies with the bullying. Like you say, try to talk your way out of the situation or talk to a parent, teacher, or counselor. You only push self-defense, nonviolent in nature, don't require punches and kicks, like getting out of a grabs. Because we see it all the time. A kid gets grabbed.
Yeah, right.
And that's just knowing that move would be huge.
Exactly.
And again, also from the article, you said you were bullied in school a little bit there. You said it was a pilot program. Did it catch on? You were trying to get it to other schools. You were saying they kind of went another way.
Yeah, the school district I think went another direction, and I understand that because maybe it's kind of contradicting what they're trying to teach because they were having problems with bullying at the time. Like I said, at that era, it was quite a thing going on, and but you just have to. I can't force the school to do something that they don't want to. I can only give my 2 cents as to.
But has there been any programs like that, or have you tried?
We haven't tried again because they have their own program in place to deal with bullying. But we do talk about it in our children's classes and that. And sometimes we'll do some self-defense seminars for kids and think of non-aggressive ways to get out of an altercation before you actually have to do something. In the last resort, we'd have to go toe-to-toe then with the bully, and we don't want to get to that.
No.
And I don't care how good you think you are, there's always someone bigger and badder than you on that block. So,
I just saw an Andy Griffith episode, which I think is the greatest TV show of all times, and Opie was getting bullied, and at one point he kept, putting up with it. And then at one point, Andy said, "Well, you got to step up for yourself."
Yeah, exactly. And it can be scary too.
Yeah.
You do it once, and then hey, that wasn't too bad. Doesn't mean that the bully's going to stop, but they might have a little more respect to you. They might, back up, but then they might move to somebody else, and that could be a problematic thing.
Well, the one of the things you emphasize here in the article, which I really like a lot, is one thing we teach kids especially is respect and discipline.
Oh, yeah.
They need that at school and home and in life.
I see that because I work in the school system myself and at the high school level, but you see...
What do you do, Sean? I didn't know you worked at the...
Yeah, so I work in what's called the transition program. It's the 18 to 21-year-old program. It's for young adults who just graduated high school. And so they don't have to join this program, but if they want to, they join the transition program. So it's kind of like gets them introduced into adulthood. And, during the daytime, there's some academics to it, stuff that would pertain to them. And then in the afternoons, they go out and do volunteer work to hopefully maybe secure a part-time job. And also, too, they get out into community, do bowling, grocery shopping, and those sorts of things.
Yeah. I just talked to the two wrestling coaches for the girls' wrestling teams and DeKalb and Sycamore. And he talked about the fact that almost all his players have another sport. They do at least another sport. One of the girls did boxing as well.
Right.
And I see here, you in the article, you mentioned that it helps you with other sports, coordination, balance, self-esteem, great for sports like wrestling or basketball. Tell us about that. Or even soccer, right?
Yeah. There's been in martial art magazines where baseball players have studied martial arts, football players, because it does help with that balance and focus and timing.
Right, yeah.
And hand-eye coordination. Yeah.
It all ties together. That's amazing. Now, we were talking about you said, I've been teaching on my own since 1992. I began training when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I'll be 40 next month. I changed that to 55.
Yeah.
And you said I'll be some 30 years, and so it'll be 45 odd years that I'm involved in martial arts. But tell us about that. Yeah, you trained under a gentleman named Andrew Torok, if I'm saying that
Yeah,
right?
Grandmaster Torok, yeah. He's my first and foremost instructor. And he'll come out here from Tennessee periodically, and he'll do seminars. And I bring, obviously I go to him, I bring some of my students in black belts.
Were you in awe of him when you were a kid? You're 11
Oh,
and this guy.
boy. When I first saw him, like, man, I want to be like him. I
Yeah?
mean, his technique and speed and timing and power and focus and control was just dead on. It's like, I want to be like that. But obviously, you get older, you can only be you, right?
Right. So when you said that to him, did he take that?
I never said
You
that
never
to
said
him.
it to him, okay.
I never said that to him. But yeah, he's something else. And I've trained with other people throughout the years in martial arts. I've trained with Eric Bowler and his instructor, Manuel Rodriguez in Kung Fu, and Jude D'Angelo in Hapkido, Norm Miller, Judo.
Yeah, we're going to get the history of karate here in a little bit. I
Yeah,
didn't realize
so-
all the different martial arts and how similar
Right.
they were, and the history behind them are really fascinating. But first, I want to bring up the fact that you, sir, are in the Hall of Fame. I don't need to tell you that, but you're in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, and you also received a Silver Lifetime Achievement Award. Tell us about that, what that meant to you, Shannon.
I don't know if that was me. I remember receiving that. I remember my twin brother probably got that. So
Oh, do
know-
I have the
Yeah,
right-
maybe that got. But as
you know,
far
I
as
used
know,
AI, so it's probably why.
okay.
That's why.
So yeah, I've never received anything like that over the years. I know he has, but I never have.
Okay,
I
well, you
never
should,
had.
for God's sake.
Well, yeah, it'd be nice, but some people say I'm too humble. So.
I believe that. And when we talk about, you said you trained under this gentleman, did you exactly implicate his?
Oh, when I was
duplicate
a
his methods
kid,
in it?
yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you're a kid, I mean,
Sure.
why not? And then
But now, when you instruct now, do you instruct the same
there's
way?
I still have it still sticks with me today, believe it or
Really?
not. And
I
I'm
believe it.
55. I remember at a tournament my instructor had at the Hayes gym, and one of his black belts came up and he said to me, when you're out there demonstrating your techniques, you look just like, Sensei Torok. And I said, yeah, thank you, thank you. Because as a kid, I try to emulate my techniques.
Yeah.
And some of that is still with me today. And then, obviously you got to find your way because you can only be
Right.
you, right? And so, yeah, but yeah.
So your teaching method, how did you start teaching? I mean,
I think my brother and I, maybe around yellow or green belt, we started helping out with classes, and
Okay.
all that. So I think that's when it started to come into fruition, teaching. And then I branched off on my own. But I helped out instructors along the way that taught for the Park District for numerous years before I took over. And
you
so,
were in a church basement at one point.
oh
weren't you?
yeah, over at the Salvation Army, yeah. But yeah, so over the years you just kind of develop your craft and everything. I remember my first night teaching for the Park District. It was back in '92, and I had a notebook and I had notes and an outline of what I was going to do. And so we get the class going, and I always constantly have to grab that book to see what's next. And it's like this, and I was thinking in my head, this is so ridiculous. So I just tossed the thing to the side, the notebook, and then I just wung it from there. And here I am today.
But now, could you teach someone else to train? I'm sure you, because
Oh, yeah. We have instructors.
Okay.
We have black belts and under black belts that help with teaching the classes. And so they learn from me, and then we have some other instructors who've been around for a while too, and they learn from them as well. But everybody develops their own forte or teaching style. No two teachers are the same, just like snowflakes, right?
Right.
So no two are the same. So everybody has their own teaching methodology.
So
But
what
we
do
all
you
have
say
a
that
common ground?
when you get a young group of, and what do you work with mostly? Younger kids or what is the age?
Well, we have classes for kids as young as 5, and our oldest
the
adult.
little dragons, right?
Yeah, and then our oldest adult, which is actually an instructor of ours, he's in his 70s. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how do you capture them? Shannon, like, when you say, here, we're going to, because I'm sure kids got their conception of karate, we're going to take karate, and
Yeah,
you hit them with that opening line. Is there an opening line that you hit them with?
not really. Just try to have some enthusiasm
Uh-huh.
and energy to, kind of get them to really engage.
Yeah.
And do it. And some will stick it out for
Uh-huh.
a while, some don't. It's not what they thought it would be. And I understand that too. And I noticed that once after they get their orange belts, that's their first earned belt. It's not too difficult to get. But then once they get up to yellow belt and higher, now the work really begins where you have to learn all these other techniques. You have to be a little more disciplined, and you're highly encouraged to practice in class and come to class when you're supposed to. And for some, that's like, boy, this is too much. I'd rather do soccer or baseball. But I look at those type of sports too, is that you're working the same thing over and over.
Right,
and become
right.
better at it, right? So, but we have some we have a great retention rate, which is a nice thing. You always get a good flock of new people coming in, but try to be engaged with them, try to be energetic, motivate them, and try to make it as fun as possible.
Do you find they stay with you? I took a Taekwondo class in college, and
Okay.
it was really great. But I didn't retain anything. I know how to do my moves a little bit, but the mental aspect was more that's something I was really impressed with. I'm going to know how to take care of myself, and it really changed the way I approach life.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty popular on campuses, martial art classes.
Well, especially for the women, right? I mean,
oh yeah. We used to do women's self-defense classes, and I've had some people inquire about that. Now, I don't offer those specifically, but we could always do like a seminar or something for that. Yeah.
Cool. We're talking to Sensei Sherman, and I found out Sensei means one who's already walked the walk, right? I believe.
Yeah, a teacher. Right? Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because again, we only know our stuff from the Karate Kid movies. But I did a little research here. In summary, karate in Okinawa developed from the synthesis of two fighting techniques. The first one used by the inhabitants of Okinawa was very simple but terribly effective, and above all, very close to reality since it used throughout many centuries in real combat. The second one was more elaborate and impregnated with philosophical teachings with the product of the ancient culture of China. Sounds like you combined the two, huh, Shannon?
Yeah. And I think back in the day, the training was like life or death in a sense because of the time. But then over the years, I think they started realizing, hey, there's some other benefits to this than just the physical aspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, over the years, I mean, the martial arts has evolved and grown, especially since arriving here in America. We've changed it and adapted to our society or our needs to make it our own unique thing, and that's fine. And there's so many different systems out there, and they all have great things to offer.
Right.
They all have strengths and weaknesses, and we're all brothers and sisters of the same art, meaning that we're all studying it for a common reason, like the reason like self-defense or fitness or develop discipline, concentration, coordination, all sorts of those things. And we go to the dojo or the school twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever it may be. And we all endure the rigorous workouts at times and everything that goes involved inside the dojo. Then we deal with everything when we walk outside those doors with what life has to throw at us, whether we're a student at school or you're married and you have kids or your work. So we all
or that one night you find yourself in a bad neighborhood and the car won't start.
So
that's all of a sudden, you're going to use this.
We all have that commonality. We all have that commonality. But there is no one best
method, right? Yeah.
Method, I don't believe in that.
But now with the kids that you have taught, do you find them staying with it as far as
well, like I said, we have a great retention rate.
Yeah, you said that. Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a few from time to time. That happens anywhere. It doesn't matter who you are, where you train, or if it's baseball or soccer or whatever it may be. People are going to come and go.
Right.
That's just the nature of it.
Now, this says karate developed, and a martial art developed in Ryukyu Kingdom? R-Y-U-K-Y-U?
Ryukyu Kingdom. Yeah.
How do you say that?
Ryukyu, I think that's how you say it.
Okay.
In Okinawa,
Ryukyu
right?
Yeah, it was very fascinating to read this because the Chinese emphasized, but they're around 1905 when karate began being taught in public schools in Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1905, right?
Yeah.
So that's later on. And my understanding, too, with the development of this, because they banned weapons, right? They couldn't have weapons, so you had to use your hands.
Yeah, you trained your body to be that weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was out of necessity almost.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. I never knew that. And then a martial dance, theories of development from the Makita, a theory that the Makita was a martial element, was born and developed into karate.
Right.
You know that? And the other one I found fascinating, the 36 families from men. Do you know that one?
No.
It is said that 1392, a group of professional people known as the 36 families of men migrated to the Kum village in Naha, and they brought with them advanced learnings and skills of the Ryukyu, and they're a theory of Chinese Knope, the origin of karate, which brought the Ryukyu at this time. So, I mean, that's just another. Because it's so fascinating. There's so much history here that I dove into, but I wanted to keep it kind of current, and that's what I found interesting was in 1922, Matabu Choki participated in a judo versus boxing match in Kyoto, defeating a foreign boxer. The match was featured in Japan's largest magazine, King. Is that still around, the King
That
magazine?
I don't know.
Which circulated about 1 million people at a time. The karate in Mao was named instantly known throughout Japan. Now, this made me think of when Muhammad Ali fought a kickboxer. I don't know if you remember that years ago.
Yeah, that I don't remember, but I
He
do
kept
know
kicking Ali in the shins, and he just he couldn't deal with it all.
he did study under a gentleman by a Taekwondo guy, Joan Ray.
Okay.
Muhammad Ali did, yeah.
Oh, did he really? Okay.
Yeah.
But this really brought it to the forefront, huh? Because everybody knew who this guy was, and he beat a boxer.
Right.
So a great picture there from 1922. And then after World War II, karate activities were temporarily stalled during the notice banning judo, kendo, and other martial arts issued by the Ministry of Education under the directive of the Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers. So they banned all that for a couple of years, I guess. However, because this notice did not include the word karate, it was interpreted by Ministry of Education that karate was not prohibited, and karate was able to resume activities along with other martial arts there. So I did not know that.
A lot of our servicemen at that time brought that over, what they learned overseas. You know, people obviously know Chuck Norris was one of them.
Right.
Bill Wallace, Joe Lewis, Jim Harrison, a whole bunch of other guys I can't think of that actually studied overseas in Okinawa, Japan. Chuck Norris over in Korea.
Joe Lewis, too, yeah?
Yeah, not the boxer, Joe.
Oh, not the
Lewis.
boxer, okay.
So these guys, as well as others, brought it over to America, and brought it to limelight. Now, back in the day, from I was told, no one really knew the difference between judo and karate because judo was really popular back in like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, 1964, it was an Olympic event. Yeah.
And nobody really knew what the difference was. And there is a difference, you know. I remember my instructor.
Could you handle a judo guy if you went up against a judo guy? Would that be like?
I have some grappling experience. If I didn't let him get a hold of me, I'd probably be okay. But
okay.
If you got a good grip on me and got me down on the ground, it'd probably be lights out for me because I don't have as much grappling experience as a judo practitioner would.
Now, is that why we wear what is it called, the outfit?
It's a gi.
The gi?
Yeah.
Because it's easier to grab?
Their gi is made out of a heavier material because of all the tugging, pulling, and groundwork. There's even padding stitched into the knees of the pants, too.
Really?
Because there's a lot of tugging and pulling. And I still go up to Wisconsin now and then and study judo under my judo instructor, Norman Miller. And my first time putting on a judo uniform and just kind of getting a feel, he had us go against some of his judo guys without any experience of our own. And boy, I remember trying to grab onto the jacket. Your fingers hurt because you really dig in there and grab. But over the years, you develop that hand strength to be able to grip it because they're made out of a heavier material because of all that tugging, pulling, throwing, and groundwork. Where a karate uniform, they come in different weights, but depending on the rigors of your workout. But if you have a judo guy grab you and you have a karate uniform, he'll rip it to shreds.
Is that right? Really? Yeah. So they are different. They should have your material.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's cool. And of course, mixed martial arts is on fire in this country right now. And do you watch that at all, Shannon? And what do you think about what they're doing out there? I know Ronda Rousey always does that the arm bar move.
Yeah. It's gained a lot of popularity. I don't know if it began as some type of underground thing or what, but there's pros and cons of that. I don't want to say yes or no.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of places in the area that teach mixed martial arts. I'm just going to put it this way. If it's something for you, then go ahead and do it. If not, then there's other alternatives. I'm not saying that that's better than karate. Karate's better than that.
Right.
They're all good. They all have something to offer. I think it just depends on what each individual is looking for. Now, going back to when this UFC came out, I did watch a few of the matches on TV when it was just emerging. It was Gracie's going against various guys from other disciplines. Yeah.
That really must be fascinating to compare the disciplines. And then we forget in 2020, only two of them, the Summer Olympics. It was an event in the Summer Olympics as well, right?
Karate? Karate? Yes, it was. And then I don't know why it's not in there anymore.
I was going to say, why? Just one and done, I guess. That was
Taekwondo, I think it was back in like the 80s, 88, I think, when it became, I think it was a demonstration sport first.
Okay.
But it's been in Olympics for a while. So.
And then obviously international, because here they talk about Africa. Karate is growing and popular in Africa. Canada. There was a group of Japanese people in Canada in the 40s that started people doing karate. Of course, United States, we talked about that. Asia, obviously very popular. Soviet Union, karate appears to be Soviet Union in the mid-60s. With Khrushchev there.
Yeah, it's all over the world, martial arts, and we contribute that to like the various servicemen and women from all the different countries that went overseas and they brought it back.
Yeah.
And then each country has their own distinct martial art too, that they make their own. So the Soviets have theirs, the Philippines have their own, Malaysia, obviously America, we have our own adaptation of different types of martial arts, make it our own thing.
Have you traveled abroad? Have you been abroad in the?
The farthest I've traveled out of the country was Mexico.
Okay.
And I never trained overseas by any means, but I remember my wife and I were in Tijuana because she has some family that lived there, and I'd see these posters for this system called Lima Lama. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think it's like a Polynesian martial art, and I just see these posters all over on the street signs, It's like, that's kind of neat. I've seen a little bit of it. It's kind of interesting. But as far as me training overseas, no, I never done any of that.
Okay.
No.
Now, do we have any? I don't know if you have any kids. I didn't come across that.
Yeah, I have 3 kids.
Okay.
A son and 2 daughters. They're all grown up.
Now, did we say nature versus nurture is my favorite question. If your dad wasn't a karate instructor, would you be involved in karate? And are they? Are they involved?
Well, they did a little bit. I trained them a little bit, but it's like, Dad, I already know how to do that by watching your classes and you doing it. Can I just skip this stuff and maybe I want to be a blue belt right now, or can I be? And I said, no, you're going to start at the bottom like anybody else, and actually, it's probably going to take you a little longer because you're my own kid. I want to make sure you look good.
Sure.
Since your dad's an instructor, but yeah, they never really stuck with it. Oh, that's too boring. You had to work too hard.
Well, that's honest about that. And you mentioned the belts. Take us through that if you would, please. So we know about the. Well, you get the white belt you start with?
Yeah, some places make you earn it, and that's fine. We don't. Everybody automatically starts as a white belt in our school, and whether you have uniform
better be out there beltless, right? You don't be out there beltless. Yeah.
And then we have orange belt, and then that's your first earned belt, and then you go.
And you say earn. What do you have to do, Shannon, to earn that orange belt?
Well, that's like after I think 8 weeks of training, you have to be able to demonstrate basic blocks, punching kicks that were shown to you, and some combinations to get that. And it's just pretty much getting your feet wet, kind of understanding some of the basic skills. And then you move up to yellow and green and blue, purple, and so forth, right up through the ranks. But everything builds upon itself. So if you don't have a strong foundation from the beginning, then everything else is going to be weak.
Right.
Because everything builds from those basic skills, and we add on to those.
So is there only like 12 black belts? How many black belts are in America?
As far as what, degrees?
I mean, how many people get to the black belt?
Well, I don't
You are, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but as far as how many I produced.
Do you have to maintain that then once you become a black belt?
Yeah, you should. Some, once they earn that belt, they just kind of close that chapter in their life, and then they leave, and they never have anything
is
to
that
do with
right?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's some that do stick it out. I have one who's started with me when he was a kid, and he's 4th degree working towards 5th. And then the gentleman that's in his 70s, his daughter started with me. She got up to 2nd degree. He joined, and he's 2nd degree right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, and we have some junior black belts and all that. But as far as like how many I produced over the years, from like junior black belt and then from junior to adult, and just adult black belt in general, going up through the various ranks, I don't think I produced more than 30 or 40.
Well, that ain't bad.
Well,
Jeez.
But there's other places that claim
I thought it was be lower number than that.
Thousands of black belts, over the years, or hundreds of them. But we're not a black belt factory,
right?
So under me, it could take 5 to 7 years to get that. It just depends on how serious you are, how often you come to class. Are you practicing at home, and those sorts of things, and also depending on what we're working on in class.
Okay.
And if you take a break and you come back 8 months later, well, that's going to affect your training as well. But so it's not an easy road. I don't make it impossible.
No,
I don't want it to be a cakewalk either. I want
you
to
to
know
like
that
you
you
make
earned
sure.
it.
Yeah.
And then you feel that you've accomplished something because you put in that hard work. And it takes, we have this discussion with all the different levels and kids and adults about, how many of you want to become a black belt, and all the kids' hands go up, yeah,
Uh-huh.
And then I asked the same thing to teens and adults, and I asked them to really think about this because they're older, so they're able to comprehend more, and not every hand comes up. And see, it takes dedication, commitment, and sacrifice. All those, and some of those words are kind of big for kids to understand,
Yeah.
And that's what it takes, and perseverance too. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. It's just how bad you want it,
Right.
to do it.
Well, again, it's so impressive. And I just wanted to mention here, when you guys have the participation of code conduct, show respect to all participants. I love that. Staff and spectators refrain from using foul language, refrain from inflicting bodily harm upon other participants, staff, and spectators. Show respect for equipment, supplies, and facilities. So that's what I'm really impressed with, that a kid might take this class and know how to defend himself, but he'll learn respect, which I think is so important.
Yeah, we go through our code of ethics, or rules of respect, I should say, after every class.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so like respect our teachers, respect our parents, respect others, respect yourself, respect your country, those kinds of things. And we'll try to give some examples to those too.
Okay, that's great.
Especially for the kids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So wrapping up here, if you don't mind me saying, you're not an imposing figure.
No,
when I see you. Well, when I talk
You're not
about,
the first to say that either.
but like in a situation with a bar, some guys harassing your girlfriend or something like that. What will you do, Shannon? Would you tell people I'm a black belt? Does that come out?
No. We just try to ignore it and get out of there. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you give them warnings. Like, I mean, if they put their hand, say, hey, I don't appreciate you touching me. If you give us some space, we're getting ready to leave now. I can see you're a little heated. But if push comes to shove, I mean, then I have to go toe to toe.
Right. But you instill that in the kids too, right?
Yeah,
Not to
exactly.
use this just to bully anybody.
Exactly.
Obviously.
And it's funny that you say, because I'm not a very big guy in stature and all that, as far as like weight and size and muscles. One of my very first black belts, he told me, this was a few years ago. I saw him in Walmart, and then he had a friend with him. And then the next night in class, my black belt told me, my friend asked me who you were, and he said, that's my karate teacher. That guy, I could probably take him. So, I mean,
Do you get that? These guys say, oh, you're big tough black belt. Yeah.
I like to give that analogy like you see in those like in the comic books, like the bodybuilders, skinny legs, big upper. I mean, people think that, we're big and muscular guys, and some are. But by the contrary, a lot of us are not.
But they're slow. At the YMCA, you used to play basketball with the weightlifters, and you could just, they were so slow and moving. It was just
right.
So that's why karate, you've got to have that fluid movement.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I try to avoid the confrontation if you can. If you can read it right away, that it's going to get heated. And sometimes you could pick up on I think it's like if you're with your friends or maybe your significant other, I think maybe it's time we leave now before it gets even heated, because I don't care how long you've been training. If someone's going to try to attack you, or you're presuming that's going to happen, I mean, obviously there's all these emotions and feelings that are going off in your body.
Right.
And obviously you're going to feel a little nervous too, because the situation can go either way. I don't care who you are, So,
but your training will kick in.
Oh yeah,
right? Okay.
Oh yeah. If I had to handle myself, I'm confident I can do it. I can do it. But if you perceive a situation is going to happen, like, okay, we better leave right now and just let it go at that.
Okay.
It's better to walk away than deal with the consequences later.
Right.
Because you don't know, am I going to go too far? And that's the thing with me, is that my self-defense that I teach now is way different than when I began teaching on my own back in 1992. Way different.
Just in general, how is it different?
We lay the guy out completely, and the thing is that would I go too far? And I don't want to. I don't want to see if I would,
right?
Because I'm worried that I don't want to try to take someone's life.
Well, that's what I'm so impressed about, karate, but martial arts in general, where you learn it and then you learn it not to use it, which I think is great.
Right.
Kind of have it in your back pocket.
And I mean, in your mind that I could probably take this guy,
yeah,
or I can handle this situation in a couple ways, but I'm going to try to be even keel,
right.
Because that's the way to be.
Yeah.
But if you get too hot, and then, And you don't know if he's got buddies either. I mean, sitting in the bar or whatever. And everybody with cell phones, he might be trying to call people, and then you go out to your car, and there's 5 or 6 people pull up in their trucks or whatever, and now there's a problem. Yeah.
Well, this has been really delight. Like I said, to learn about the martial arts and all the different types of martial arts, but to learn about karate in particular and learn what a sensei is and a dojo. It's so neat to learn. But I was going to ask you your last words of wisdom, Shan. What do you say to people in terms of why? Let's say I'm a parent and I'm thinking about my kids taking this class. What do you say to them?
I say, well, if you give it a chance, you're going to see the growth within that child. And I've heard this before from children themselves in my programs, as well as from the parents. You're going to see a positive. They're going to be more disciplined. They're going to be more relaxed. They're going to be more focused, more respectful, and healthy. And they're able to handle situations in a more even fashion or manner. Yeah.
Where do I sign up?
Through the DeKalb Park District. And getting back to all the, I'm not in any way, shape, or form knocking mixed martial arts or any martial art out there. As I said, we're all brothers and sisters of the same art. Because all the things that we have to endure in class and outside of class. All disciplines are good. It just depends on what you're looking for. Okay. And I just let it go at that.
Well, that's
we all
enough,
can
I
learn
tell you.
from each other.
Yeah. I tell you, I'm more impressed by the mental aspect than the physical aspect, but having both is great. I tell you, when I took that Taekwondo class, I was a different cat after that. I really was. So
It was probably a large class, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah. Taught by one instructor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how they are.
Okay.
Yeah, in the college. Yeah.
So if they want to sign up now, where are we at right now? We're recording this in the end of May
DeKalb
here.
Park District, we actually run 2 programs. One's through the DeKalb Park District, and they can register online through the DeKalb Park District, or they can call or go in person. And then I also run a program through the Genoa Park District. So anybody that lives out in the Genoa area, they can register through the Genoa Park District as well. So, yeah, so I split my time between both programs.
Are you going to be a 90-year-old sensei then when we'll see you later?
Well,
You
I do feel it in my body now more so than I did when I was in my 40s, or 30s especially. I definitely feel it more in my knees and my ankles and that.
But for we old people, we 66 years old, I want to stretch. I want to be, I want to take some yoga. But would you recommend that for flexibility?
Yeah. And the nice thing is that
and balance is key.
We
right?
cater it around you. Because everybody has limitations, what they can and cannot do, and we can work with all that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can work with all that too. And Tai Chi is pretty popular too for kids and adults, especially adults that may be approaching senior years, because it's more slow moving and relaxing.
And again, the balance, because I know falling is a number one problem for older people. So you get that balance going. That's great. Well, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you, Shannon. Again, Shannon Marbutt has been our guest. Again, he's been teaching here at least since 1992, teaching the kids karate here. But to me, the most important thing is that mental discipline that you instill in them. And we appreciate everything you do, Shannon. Thank you so much for taking time with us.
Thank you very much for having me out. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that's TD Ryan Unleashed, podcast number 61.